Greetings viewers, it's Matthew from Jazz Crazy Records, and today I've got kind of a fun video planned. I have a brand new turntable that I have purchased for a friend of mine and will be sending him. And I was going to make him a video to kind of show him how to set everything up using Audacity to make digital transfers of records. So I thought I would bring you all along for this journey so you can unbox this turntable with me. It's a very common turntable if you are getting into 78 RPM records. It's the one probably most recommended on forums, so it might be one that you're interested in knowing more about as well. So let's get to the unboxing and see what this turntable is like, and then we can talk about it and test it out. Okay, so as you see here, it is an Audio Technica. Let me get this plastic off. It is the Audio Technica AT-LP120XUSB. So this is a brand new Audio Technica turntable. This is a step up from their LP60 model, which I don't think runs 78 RPM, but this one does. So I'm sending this to a friend who has a lot of 78s, and he just wants a machine that he can play 78s on for people who are interested in buying them, so that they can hear what they sound like before they buy them. I think this machine is going to serve him very well. So I've never used one of these, so we're going to see what's in the box. All right, so unboxing. We've got a quick start guide. Okay, so we have this out of the box. And we will now pull it out of the dust cover. So in addition to this, we also have the platter, right, which is going to go right on top of there. We've got this little box, which I am going to guess is the power cord, right? Oh, it's the USB cord. So this is the USB cord. So you could hook this turntable right up to your computer. That comes with a little 45 RPM adapter, which I don't think my friend is going to be using. And then if you are going to hook this up to an audio system, we've got the RCA cables with the ground. So we'll figure out how to hook all that up in a bit. It's also coming with another box with the AC adapter. So this is obviously an AC adapter for here in the United States, and it is for an outlet voltage of around 120 volts, and it puts out 12 volts DC at 2 amps. Okay, a couple other things that this turntable came with. It comes with a felt mat that you put on here to protect the records. I am going to leave this one in the plastic because I don't want to mess it up for my friend. I want him to have the pleasure of opening that up himself. And I'll use one of my other felt mats for this demonstration. It also comes with a dust cover, which I'm also not going to open up because I don't want to scratch it or otherwise mess it up or get it dusty, so that my friend has the cleanest dust cover possible when starting. So the last thing is in the styrofoam that protected this. We've got a number of goodies here. Number one, we have the cartridge, which I'll get out in a second. These two items are to secure the dust cover, so we'll leave them in place. We won't need those. And then this is the counterweight to the turntable's tone arm. So let me get this stuff unpacked and get this all ready, and then I'll show you how we're going to set this turntable up. I've got everything unpacked, and I want to kind of walk you through what I've unpacked. First of all, we've got this little counterweight, which also allows us to very precisely dial in how much tracking force we're going to be putting on the record. So this is an important part. We also have our cartridge. Let me just open that up. And again, as far as I know, I believe this is an AT-95E cartridge, and the stylus that is currently on there is for LPs for vinyl. Right, so we're going to be removing this and replacing it with our new 78 cartridge. But before we do that, I just want to set this up and actually do a transfer with that stylus, because I want you to hear what it sounds like with a smaller stylus that's made for vinyl or LPs. I think it'll be a fun little experiment. Why not? We're doing all this. Let's just do something fun. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to install this cartridge. So this cartridge is really easy to take on and off. You see there are 4 pins. Those pins correspond to a left and right channel, both the hot signal and the ground. So that's what those 4 pins are, and you'll see they're connected with different colored wires in the back. So this part is actually the cartridge, and it's then connected to this headstock. And then all you do to install it is you kind of unscrew this a bit and pop it in and then screw it back, just like that. Just take it off, you unscrew, and it just pushes it right out. And also note that it currently has a bit of plastic on it, and that is to protect the stylus. If you were to drop it or brush against it, you could damage it. So you don't want to remove this until you are ready to start playing records. So I'm going to leave that on there for now. And of course, I know I'll probably forget to take it off later. And then last thing is this little doodad, which is some kind of strobe light that installs right here. And this is a variable speed control. So you can slow it down or speed it up by as much as 16%. Right, so for 78s, that's super important because not all 78s were recorded at 78 RPM. Some are at 79 or 80 or 82 or 84. some are as low as 72. So having that variable speed is really great, because then you can control the speed of your record as it's playing. Last but not least, we do need a felt mat for our record, and I happen to have this beautiful De La Soul 3 feet high and rising turntable mat. So we'll use this. Oh, there's one more thing we have to set up, and that is our counterweight. And that goes on the end of the tone arm, right? And the function of the counterweight is, if you don't have a counterweight, let me move this out, right? This thing just slams to the bottom of the record, and you get maximum tracking force here, because there's nothing balancing it on the other side. This thing is kind of like a teeter-totter, right? So the idea is you want to put something on there that balances it. And so what you're going to want to do is you want to wear it very carefully. Now notice I still have that piece of plastic here, so if I let that drop, it's not going to hurt the stylus. The stylus is protected. So right now, you know, it's still kind of slamming on the record. So what I want to do is kind of back this off. Now see, I backed off too far, and now as you see, this tone arm is kicked all the way back. What you want it to do is float pretty evenly. You don't want it to kick up, you don't want it to slam down, right? So you've kind of got to keep working with this until you get a balance where it just kind of hangs in the air. And I'd say that's about right there. All right, so I just want to give you a slightly different view of the tone arm so you can kind of see how it's balanced here. And notice if I pull this back too much, boom, it kicks all the way up. That's not what we want. That's not going to work. And if I move it too far in, then it just immediately plunks down onto the turntable. So once again, right, to set this up correctly, we're going to want to play around with it until we get, like, it's almost floating. Okay, that's a little too far. Okay, right about there. Now it's kind of floating in between those two states. So right here is that counterweight that I've been moving back and forth by holding it at the end here. This top part, however, we can turn this and not affect the counterweight. So I'm going to turn that to set it so that 0 lines up with this line, right? And you'll notice it's still floating just as we had it set up. So now that we know this is the 0 point, we can set this, and what the instructions say are they want the counterweight set to 2, right? So now I'm going to hold it by the silver part, and I'm going to turn this 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2. Now once you do that, it will, when you set it down, it will drop to the record at hopefully 2 grams of tracking force. Now, just to test this, I do have a little scale here. So I'm going to turn this on. I've got my scale set for grams. It is tared out at 0. And I'm going to see if we can test what the current tracking force of this is. And I don't know if you can see that, but 2.1. So we've got it right about where we want it. So that is how you set up the balance of the tone arm. and how you make sure that you have the proper amount of tracking force that is applied to the record. If you have less than 2 grams, it means that it's going to have a lighter touch. That means if it hits a skip, it might bounce right off of the record, and you might have this thing bouncing around or sliding around. If you have heavier, if you go to 2.5 or 3 or more, that means you're putting a lot more pressure on the record with the stylus, and that can cause wear both to the record and to your stylus. So I'd say, you know, you can play around a little bit, but I wouldn't vary too much from that. Now, I'm just going to come on in here and show you the anti-skating dial. And what we have to do here, it is currently set at 0, and the instructions are we are to set this also at 2. So you have 2 grams of tracking force on the counterweight, and we're going to want anti-skating to be set at 2 as well. Okay, so we now have this set up. We've got our tone arm set. It is balanced. The anti-skating is set correctly, and it is ready to go as soon as we pull off that little plastic piece. But again, I'm going to leave that on there. If you lift this up and are moving it around, notice this thing is loose. So if this thing starts flying around and that plastic covering isn't on, you can damage your stylus if it hits the side of the platter or something else, or slams down on you know, another part of the turntable. That can be bad. So when you're moving it, you just want to, there's a little plastic piece right here that you just clip into place, and then that tone arm is not moving around. And of course, if you're really going to do a lot of moving, you can always take this cartridge right off very easily, transport it, and then when you get to where you're going, you can put it back on. A few other things about controls. Pretty simple to operate. You have an on-off switch, and then this controls your speed. We have the 2 most common speeds, 33 and 45, but of course for us, we're interested in 78. And if you press both of these buttons simultaneously, you will get 78 RPM. So right now I am going to get this set up over by my computer so we can actually try a transfer and see how it works. Okay, one more thing. Before we do that, I just want to point out really quickly the underbelly or the backside of this and explain what these different switches mean. Number one, we have a switch over here that allows us to choose whether we want a line output or a phono output. Right? And that basically controls if it applies an equalization circuit to the signal that's coming out of our turntable. So if we're plugging this into a stereo receiver that has a phono preamp already, then we're going to want to set this to line, and this will come out just straight from the signal from the cartridge. If we're plugging this into a computer, we want to apply a phono equalization circuit to it, perhaps. So we might want to set this to phono. So you have a choice between phono and line. Secondly, this is where we will plug in our RCA jacks if we are connecting it to a stereo system, an analog system. And there is our ground. And the ground is just a little screw. You put the grounding spade in there and then twist it and secure it there. And then finally we have our USB, and that is where we'll get the signal coming out of our turntable and put it right into our computer. And then finally there is our power. All right, greetings everyone. You are now in a part of the Jazz Bunker hitherto unseen, which is the workstation where I do all the transfers. So here's that old Linco you saw in a previous video, and my preamp and my digital audio converter. And this is generally where I come to do different transfers. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to level the turntable. And I have this little turntable level. Let's see, I got that from LP Gear. It's called Zero Level. And you just set this down on the flat part of the turntable and make sure that the turntable is as level as you can get it. Now this thing is standing on an old typewriter tray, and as you can see, I've got little shims in here to get it level. So it was not level when I first started, but it is now level. I've got it plugged in. All right, so if we turn this on, oh, look at that. And then I can start it. There it is. I can stop it. And we can go to 45. You'll notice it's turning a little faster. And if we push both buttons, that is 78. So it seems to be working just fine. And I've got a 78 that I'd like to do a transfer of, which is this one, which is really clean record. So I think it'll make a nice test case for this turntable. And once again, we're going to try doing it once with the LP stylus that it came with, just so you see what that will sound like. And then we're going to add the 3mm 78 RPM stylus, and we'll compare the differences. So I've got this USB cable that came with this turntable, and you'll notice it has two different types of connectors. This one, this rectangular one, is one you'll recognize. This is what will go into your computer. And then this kind of oddball shaped one, this is what will go into the back of this turntable. So I've got this plugged into the back of the turntable, and then right here, over here, I've got a little USB port where I have multiple things plugged in, and I'm going to try to use this. If I have trouble, I may have to just plug this into the back of the computer. There's a USB port. Sometimes there are power issues when plugging into a USB dock like this, but let's just see if that is true. If you are new to making digital transfers of records and don't have a big budget, Audacity is a great free program that you can download and use on your computer. It's what I first used when I was starting out on the channel and still can do basic stuff very well. Just go to audacityteam.org and download the version for your computer's operating system. Once you get it started, all you have to do is make sure your input source is set correctly, and you'll be ready to go. Okay, so when you get this set up, you plug your turntable in, and I had to plug it into the back of the computer and not that little USB dock. And what on my Apple computer, I go to my settings and I go to the sound control panel, and I'm able to see that there's my Volt 4, which I want to keep as my output device. But my input device, I'm going to switch to the USB audio codec, and that is going to be the sound coming from my turntable. So once I have done that, I can then start up Audacity, and if I go to Audacity Preferences, it should be also set up here. So we're recording from the USB audio codec, and then playback will be through the Volt 4 so I can hear it on my speakers. Now that we have the turntable unboxed, properly set up, plugged in, and ready to go, I'm going to end part 1 here. In our next video, I'll demonstrate making digital transfers with this setup using both the cartridge that came with the turntable and a second cartridge that I fitted with a larger stylus made to better play the wider grooves of 78 RPM records. I'm going to do a few different transfers on records from different periods and in different conditions, and we'll use both the built-in USB output of the turntable and the line output into my normal phono preamp. This is going to give you a great comparison between different sized stylii and different output settings. I'm happy to report that this turntable is now out of the country in my friend's hands, and I wanted to get this video up for him so that he can get everything set up. So stay tuned for more fun with the Audio-Technica AT-LP120XUSB turntable, and thanks for hanging with me as I played around with getting one set up. See you soon.